So I'm glad the Celtics are who they are and James Harden is elsewhere. He goes to Brooklyn instead of the Sixers. And this is what, Ian, I have been, for anyone that follows me on Twitter, cheap plug, Adam M. Kaufman, I have been rooting for this for months, for James Harden to wind up with the Nets, to give us our own NBA Hard Knocks. Everyone should get League Pass. This should be must-watch television. If, in fact, Kyrie Irving ever decides to come back and play basketball again, these three guys on a team together with basically no bench is just fascinating to me, and I have a zillion thoughts, and I could talk for an hour by myself, but initial impressions from you, Ian, what are they?
I mean, first of all, I just wonder if the Nets are being run by an entertainment producer rather than
Is
because
Jay-Z still there?
yeah, exactly. This is what you would put together if you were more interested in your ratings or your social media and all that stuff. If you were in an entertainment business without worrying about winning a championship, this is exactly what you would do. But I also understand why they did it for basketball reasons. They're all in on trying to win a championship. And I don't think without adding a third star that they could ever beat the Lakers. And that's what you have to do. If you're trying to win a championship this year, next year you're imagining LeBron and Anthony Davis, and really they have very good depth around those guys. And right now, LeBron's better than Durant, and Anthony Davis is better than Kyrie Irving. So they weren't going to win, health permitting, which we cannot take for granted right now. But all things being equal, they weren't good enough, despite everything they've done to improve their team. Now, if somehow they can figure out a way to get Kyrie Irving to play again, and then get those three guys to play together at a high level, now they have a chance to be good enough. They have a chance to be better than Lakers because Kyrie gets to be the hero. He gets to be the third guy that puts them over the top. Um,
I'm not sure that would be Kyrie's definition of
I
hero.
don't know how they're going to do that, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think that's what Kyrie's looking for. I mean, it just depends on all these things. There's so many factors. It depends what you want to believe is true. I mean, there was the report yesterday out of SNY, and I think signs have pointed to this, so I am inclined to believe it, that Kyrie Irving, one, his relationship with Kevin Durant has grown distant. Go figure. That happens with Kyrie everywhere he is. As soon as he gets, into the inner workings of a team, he grows distant, his, relationship wise with all of his teammates. I don't care if they were best friends before they signed on together. Of course, they've grown distant. And, Mr. I don't think we have a head coach apparently is still furious with the organization about the Steve Nash hiring and, the fact that he wasn't consulted in the process. I just think, to me, I've said this before. We've talked about this, Ian and Evan, all of us. I've always been inclined to believe the NBA is a players' league, which it is, and that talent wins out in the end, which with very rare exception, like the, '04 Pistons, it does. You have the most talent, you win a championship. Generally, that's the bottom line. I have, in this new era of social media and personalities and just the evolution of the NBA player as we know them in recent years, I have expanded that thought to which ultimately it's not talent alone that wins out. Personality is a huge factor. Personality is the only thing that trumps talent to me. And what I mean by that is this team has the talent, even with no bench. Levert's gone, Allen's gone. They've no real bigs other than Jordan. Like, they have no bench, but they still have enough talent to win a championship. But I think they have the personalities. These three in particular: Kevin Durant with the burner accounts on social media, Harden who openly doesn't want to play defense or work hard a lot of the time and doesn't want to share the ball, and Kyrie Irving, who doesn't even want to play basketball. It's not remotely a top priority of his and hasn't been happy in Brooklyn since his coming home video. These three personalities could sink this team to the tune of, I think losing in the second round of the playoffs. That is my expectation. I had one person say to me yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose in the play-in tournament. It's just remarkable how all this could unfold.
All those things are possible. It could be incredibly bad, and it could work out. Is it going to work out over the course of an entire season? Or is it going to be a consistent championship contender all year long? especially with all the disruptions that we're facing right now during the COVID period. So probably, definitely not. They're not going to be a consistent team, I don't think. But the way I'm going to watch them is I'm just going to keep my eyes on Kevin Durant. It's all going to revolve through, it's all going to revolve around and run through Kevin Durant. This is going to be the test of his life. You know, all this talk that he went to Golden State and just cashed in on a pre-existing championship team, or that when he was in Oklahoma City, he deferred. Russell Westbrook was the strong personality, the strong voice of that team. All that has to change right now. If Steve Nash wants to coach the team, he has to coach it through Kevin. He and Kevin, because they have that relationship. That's why Steve's there in the first place. So the way Popovich, and please forgive me for this correlation, but the way Popovich worked through Tim Duncan, that's what Steve Nash has to try to do with Kevin Durant. And so everything, Kevin, I'm thinking about, we should run this. What do you think? Yeah, I get it, but let's do it this way. Okay. And they agree between the two of them. Steve announces it to the team. This is what we're going to do. And then he trusts Kevin to be the enforcer. Kevin's the one that goes to Harden and says, look, this is what we're going to do. Kevin's the one, maybe with Harden's help or other people's help, he goes to Kyrie and brings him along. Kevin has to be the one that on defense sets the example. He's got to be a two-way player this year. He's got to be an incredible defender. He's got to guard the rim because he's great at that. He's got to be able to guard multiple positions. He's got to do it so that he can hold other people accountable. He's got to do what LeBron does every single day, what James Harden has never done and probably never will do. It's all got to run through Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's got to make it all happen. He's got to be the all everything. Clearly, with the burner accounts and all that, we know that he hated the way people reacted to his going to Golden State. Well, if you hated that, here's your opportunity. Because no one thinks this is going to work. And the only way it works is if you decide, I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to tirelessly do it, and I'm going to take responsibility for everything. Again, that's why being the best player of a championship team in the NBA is the hardest thing to do in sports. You're responsible for everything. We've talked about this before. You got to do stuff that Tom Brady never had to worry about. Never had to worry about the culture of the team. Tom Brady didn't even play half the plays for his team. Kevin Durant's got to do everything. He's got to worry about what's going on in the locker room. He's got to make sure that Kyrie's on board. He has to make sure that Kyrie and James Harden are playing together. He has to make sure that Harden isn't just a statue on defense. He has to keep all the young guys involved. He's got to set the example and do everything he's telling people to do. He has to do first. He has to accept tough coaching from Steve Nash to embolden Steve Nash's position. He's got to deal with the New York media. He's got to make sure that he's not seen at parties with his family, not wearing a mask. He's got to do everything. He's got to do everything for them. And if he does that, then they have a chance. If he doesn't, zero. They have no hope.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot about chemistry because, you have all the talent in the world here on this team with three guys that, are all worthy of winning. Well, two guys worthy of winning MVP, and Kyrie has been an incredible, second banana to on a finals team. So it's not like they don't have the talent and the experience to get there. I mean, Durant obviously with the title wins, that's big. But how does this team gel? And you mentioned it, it's really all about Kevin Durant and how he handles both of these guys. And the one thing that I'm curious, you can talk about off the court, in the gym, et cetera, et cetera. These are two high.
Is that Danny? Does Danny want to talk?
I wish.
Danny want to get on the show?
I love that. But we have three high usage guys that all need the ball in their hands to be effective. I mean, James Harden's entire, career in Houston is defined by he is the overlord seer of the entire offense. And when James Harden feels like getting the ball, he's going to, but most of the time he's going to take a bunch of shots and go to the free throw line a lot of times. Now you have two other guys that need the ball just as much as Harden does. I mean, again, Durant, you said and I've said this about Jason Tatum, Durant's going to have to defer to guys to get them involved and keep them engaged in the game. But at the end of the game, they have three guys that can close, or maybe 2.5, depending how you feel about Kyrie, but Kyrie's a great closer. In terms of, who takes the final shot. I mean, it's going to take sacrifice. Howard Beck wrote an article, I think last week, detailing the sacrifice the 08 Celtics made, right? Ray Allen, that's not what he signed up for, but he had to do what he had to do to win a championship, right? can these guys make a sacrifice mid-season to gel and make sure that, at the end of the day, the W is the most important thing? I mean, I don't know. I'm fascinated how this team's going to work. I mean, the bench stuff, I mean, they might get killed on the glass in a lot of games. You look at that team in LA, they won last year primarily because of their size. I mean, they had a bunch of bigs between JaVale McGee and Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard, and they had sparing minutes for other places, but they could go big and still beat teams. And this team's going to face, some bigs eventually that can take advantage of that. So from a chemistry standpoint, I'm concerned. From on the court standpoint, I'm concerned. It's going to be fun as hell to watch, like no question about it. It makes them the favorite, quote unquote, to come out of the Eastern Conference. But you're entrusting Kevin Durant in a role that maybe he's not all too comfortable with. And Steve Nash has never coached a year in his life to handle this whole thing. And I'm not totally convinced it is going to work out, especially when you have other teams that have a little bit more chemistry, although they don't have as much talent. So this is kind of the ultimate chemistry versus talent thing. But I am thrilled that it happened because, for the content solely. I mean, the internet yesterday was unbelievable, and all the segments that have come out of it, today and, for the next couple of days are going to be tremendous. And that's just, and the game hasn't been played yet. When they finally play together, the content's going to be even better. So from a content standpoint, I'm thrilled, but I don't know if it's going to work. And they're throwing a lot of eggs into a basket, because if it doesn't work, Houston owns every pick they have, So
yeah, 4 future picks and 4 pick swaps also.
Yeah,
so the haul.
Yeah, it better work, because if it doesn't, this is catastrophic for the Nets.